Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Dick Briggs, ready to break down some college action, or upcoming action. Really, a lot of tournaments here as college hits its postseason stride. They had some over the weekend for D3s, but the biggest stuff is coming up here this week in the next couple of weeks. Let's start off with the Big Ten. They released their pre-seeds for the Big Ten championships that'll be held this Saturday and Sunday at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. Iowa, not a single number one seed. Of course, that's probably not really a big surprise, but they do have 5 number twos here in these preliminary seeds. Anything surprise you or kind of catch your attention with the Big Ten seedings?
Yeah, actually, the interesting part for the Iowa is all 10 of their wrestlers are seated above the cut line, the qualifying line. So that would indicate that if they wrestle to their seed, 10 would qualify. Whereas at Penn State, and we'll talk about their seeds in a minute, but their cut line, they only have 8 qualifying. So there's an interesting thing that popped out to me.
Yeah, of course, one of those 165, kind of interesting there, what they've done with 165 and 157 with Brady Berge coming back, dropping down from 165 to 157, and then the insertion of Creighton Edsel there at 65. But just to run down the University of Iowa pre-seeds here, freshman Drake Ayala, he's the number 6 seed. Kind of interesting there. He lost to Heinzelman from Ohio State, but beat Devin Schroeder, and Schroeder's seated in front of him here, at least to start. But of course, he's lost to Patrick McKee 3 times. And yet he's 2 spots ahead of McKee. So figure that one out a little bit.
I was kind of looking at that, KJ. I was kind of looking at that, and you got Schroeder at 5, Ayala at 6, D'Agostino from Northwestern at 7, and McKee at 8. So those guys all have kind of they've wrestled each other. So Schroeder beat McKee and D'Agostino, but lost to Drake.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so of those 3, Drake is the only one that has beaten Schroeder. So Schroeder's up at 5. Ayala, who has beaten Schroeder, is at 6, but has lost to number 8. And then he, so it's kind of a round robin thing. And I was looking at that, seeing if it was fair or realistic, and I think it really is. I mean, based on the results, it seems fair to me. So we'll see.
133, Austin DeSanto is second behind Roman Bravo Young, Penn State. I'll mention that Nick Suriano is the number 1 seed at 125. Suriano now with Michigan. 141, Jaden Ironman is number 2 behind Nick Lee. Really interesting 1, 2, 3 there with Lee, Ironman, and Sebastian Rivera.
149 is deep, isn't it? Holy cow, look at the 6th seed. Stefan Micic.
Yeah, 141 you mean.
Or 141, I'm sorry, 141, yes.
Yeah. He hasn't necessarily had one of his prototypical seasons this year, but when he's the number 6 guy, that tells you the amount of talent that you have there in that top half. Excuse me. At 149, you've got Sammy Sasso, number 1, Max Murin, 4. For the Hawkeyes. At 157, Ryan Deacon Number one from Northwestern, that's probably a gimme. Um, or one you kind of counted on. But with Caleb Young being number two, given his start and seeing him in front of, somebody like Kendall Coleman, um, you know, uh, kind of interesting there that after his rough start, he's kind of turned things around in the number two seed at 57.
That's really nice. But KJ, do we know what happened to Lee from Minnesota? I see he's not in there. So
He got hurt.
he is injured. That's okay.
Yeah, he was injured and out for the season. So
Okay.
At 165, you got Carson Karchla, the young guy from Ohio State who scored a last-second takedown to beat Marinelli by a point. In the duel, he's the top seed. Marinelli's number two. Marinelli going for his fourth Big Ten title in 5 seasons. So that's one where you've kind of got an old dog in Marinelli, and then you've got some really young, talented guys when you look at Karchla and Dean Hamady of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that was a fair seed, and I think Marinelli can beat him. So you can win that title.
Yeah, then 174. This is one similar to 141, maybe not quite as deep to number 6, but through the top 5, you've got 5 really talented wrestlers. When you look at number 1, Carter Starochi of Penn State, Logan Massa of Michigan, number 2, Mikey Labriola of Nebraska, number 3, and then Michael Kemmerer being number 4 in a pretty interesting 4 versus 5 with him and Ethan Smith in the quarterfinals if these hold true. But those losses to Labriola and Starochi, Kemmerer's got a pretty tough road to hoe there at 174.
Right. I mean, it's unfortunate that puts him on Starochi's side of the bracket, which would be a semifinal match. He would have had to beat him to champ anyway, but now you got to beat him in the semifinals to make the finals. So that's a tougher road for sure.
Yeah, 184, the most qualifiers of any weight, they're going to get 12 at 184. Aaron Brooks, number 1 seed over Miles Amin, number 2. And then you've got Abe Assad at 5. And we'll mention Max Lyon of Purdue. He's the 13 seed. Just right on that precipice of possibly getting an automatic berth back to the NCAA tournament.
Right. I thought 5. Wow, that seems kind of generous. But then I got to looking and it's fair. I think that's a fair seed. So not much to complain about there. But he hasn't wrestled 6 through 10. The 6 through 10 seeds beat everyone below that. So it's fair, I guess.
197, you've got Eric Schultz, number 1 seed over Max Dean. Cam Caffey of Michigan State is number 3, and then Jacob Warner, number 4. That's one where I think outside of the top 2, you could really kind of shuffle the next 3 in a couple different ways. But turns out Caffey getting the 3 and Warner the 4.
I would agree with you on that. Top 2 really seem to be a step above the others, and you're right. I think after that we'll see. So.
And then at heavyweight, of course, you got Gable Stevenson, the no-brainer there, the number 1 seed. Tony Cassiope with the number 2, and I think that's maybe a product of the schedule a little bit, where he beat Kirk Vallette in the duel against Penn State. He hasn't had a lot of success against Mason Paris in the past, but Kirk Vallette beat Paris this year. Cassiope beat Kirk Vallette, and his only other conference loss was to Stevenson. So it kind of makes sense how they set up 1 through 4 there.
Who wasn't it? Gosh, I forget who caught him in that very first match of the year.
From Princeton,
Princeton.
Del Garbino.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay, so there you go. So anyway, yeah, he's had a great year. I mean, other than getting caught there, and then of course, speaking of steps, how many steps above is Stevenson than everyone else?
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah. So I mean, based on the results, I think that's a fair. Second is a fair, and it actually puts maybe puts Paris on the other side with the Olympic champion.
Right. Right. That'll be a heck of a semifinal there between those two. And then just to mention the automatic qualifiers from each weight class, you'll have 10 at 125 and 10 at 133. 7 will go at 141 and 149. Same with 57 and 65. Then when you get to 174, it climbs up to 8. We mentioned the 12 at 184. 197 will get 11, and then there'll be 9 at heavyweight. So, those are those are the same type of numbers you see just about year in and year out. Maybe a few extra than normal, but I think it's probably on par for most years. We mentioned 2 of the Penn State wrestlers kind of sitting outside of their automatic bid, outside of the automatic bid range in a couple weights. But when you look at what they have outside of that, where you've got Roman Bravo Young, Nick Lee, Carter Staroch, Aaron Brooks, all the number 1 seeds. Then you add the number 2 seeds in Drew Brandt, Max Dean as well. You've got Kirk Vallette, the number 3 seed at heavyweight. Is it theirs to lose? I mean, can Iowa make a run at Penn State in this field?
I kind of compared the two in my head. I didn't really write it down and look at it that close, but at the seeds that Iowa has and the seeds that Penn State has, believe it or not, I think Penn State could wrestle above their seeds because they have those 2 guys that are outside the line, and I think they're capable of wrestling and qualifying, and in Iowa, boy, they're pretty fair seeds, but it's going to be tough to wrestle above them, much above them. So I think you're right. I think it's Penn State's to lose. Yes.
Give me one Iowa wrestler that you think will finish a spot or 2 above their seed, and maybe give me one other wrestler in the field from one of the other schools that you think could finish well above what their pre-seed is.
Okay, I think I'm gonna say, catching me off guard here, but I'm ready. Hopefully, I'd like to see 2 champs, one at 41 and one at 65. That's only 1 step above their seed, but those guys, there's that I'd like to see, and I think that can happen. So and the outside, that one's gonna be tougher here. Okay, here's a personal one. I'd like to see Max Lyon jump above where he's at. Just he's our local guy, so I'll go with Max Lyon. That's way down there, 13th, I think is what.
Yeah, because if he wrestles above that seed, he's going to get an automatic bid since they take 12. So
right.
I think that's very well within his range. Did skip over one person that we should mention, Michael Blockus, former Crestwood, New Hampton wrestler that transferred to Minnesota from UNI. He's number 10 at 149. Outside of that automatic qualifier bid, but I guess I think Marinelli is kind of the one that I would agree certainly could finish above his seed, even though he's number 2. I mean, coming away with a title there. I think is well within his reach. The other one that I think, well, you know what, I might hold off on that one just because their semifinal matches are tough with Murin and Kemmerer.
You're setting a 4 seed. You're exactly right.
But you know, because there's not much you can do finishing above that. When likely you have those semifinals that are going to be tough to overcome. You know, so I'll stick with Marinelli, and I think there's an outside chance that Warner could make the finals. You know, those 97-pound match. Eric Schultz keeps everything so close, and you know, outside of Marinelli, I'll say Warner. Warner finishing above a 4 seed in that weight class. As far as the field goes, you know, there's one person that kind of keeps jumping off the page at me. And I know he hasn't necessarily had the best of years, but I'm going to go with Kendall Coleman.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's somebody that, you know, if he hits on all cylinders, he could do some damage. So I'm going to say Kendall Coleman finishing above his 4 seed.
Certainly the talent is there, that's for sure.
Yeah, but we'll see. For some reason, he just keeps catching my eye. So we'll go with that.
So we kind of alluded to it, never really flat out said it, but the two that are outside there from Penn State that are outside at Arberge and Edsel. And so those are the two that, again, have the talent and you know, could wrestle above their seed and get all 10 qualified and may come back and get qualified even if they don't do the automatic qualification. So
yeah, I'm not sure how they're how they sit as far as those at-large bids come. We'll have to see next week, but yeah, certainly would be interesting. Really interested in Drake Ayala. You know, wrestling with his injury. I'm guessing once they get into that automatic qualifier range, which I think would be the semifinals if he can make it there. I think he'd have to win one more match on the backside if he lost in the quarters. But I think once you see Ayala lock up an automatic bid, they might shut him down just to be proactive on the injury front.
you know, I was thinking the same.
Go in a couple weeks.
Just as you were saying that, I was thinking the same thing. On two fronts, I was thinking it with Ayala and also maybe with Kemmerer as well.
Sure. They did that with Kemmerer a few years ago when the Big Tens were at Michigan State. The interesting thing, him and Nolf both made it to the semis and then defaulted out once they had that bid, and they both were 6th place because of it. There was no 5th place awarded that year, and it was Kemmerer and Nolf that shared 6th place because of those defaults. So it's kind of interesting, and could see that with him just to preserve him for the next 2 weeks.
As I recall, I remember in a picture in my mind with both of them standing on the 6th place step of the podium there.
yeah, definitely really interesting to see that. Let's switch gears to the Big 12 here. You know, thought things played out actually pretty well for both schools. Here, I'll just kind of run down the top seed and then the Iowa State UNI local guys that we recognize here. This tournament, I believe, will be in Tulsa this weekend as well, Saturday and Sunday at the Box Center. There at 125, you've got Brody Teskey of UNI, the number 1 seed, Kyson Terakina, the number 7. Actually, I think I might be looking at the wrong ones there.
I
'Cause
think
I was
so.
gonna say that surprised me. I don't think that was
Right.
the case.
I think Teskey's number 3 and Terakina's number 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got the wrong list in front of me here. That was from the 2021
Yeah.
there.
And
Yeah, so you've got Teskey, the number 3 seed, Terakina, the number 6. At 133, Kyle Biscaglia. It's the number 2 seed behind Dayton Fix. Ramazan Adesayov is number 5. Then you got Ian Parker, the number 1 seed at 141. Cale Happel, the number 6 seed there at 149. You've got Jarrett Dagan, the number 3 seed for Iowa State. Colin Rillabuto, the number 5 for UNI. At 157, obviously David Carr, the number 1 seed for Iowa State. Derek Holschlag, number 7, at 157. Then at 165, you've got number 3 Austin Yant for UNI. Isaac Judge is number 7 for the Cyclones. At 174, Lance Runyon is the number 4 seed. Joel Devine, number 7. Of course, you know how tight those two have wrestled. So you got to think, the middle of that weight class is going to be super competitive. 184, Marcus Coleman of Iowa State. We've talked about how strong of a season he's had. He's the number 2 seed behind Parker Keckheisen, who has been phenomenal all year for the Panthers. And that 197, this might be one of the toughest weights around. Younger Bastida is number 4 for the Cyclones. John Gunderson unseated. And then I haven't seen kind of a final decision on whether it's Carter Isley or Terrell Gordon. Heavyweight, not sure it's going to really factor in too much as far as seeds go. And then Sam Schuyler from Iowa State. He's seeded 3rd, and he's come on real strong.
Right, and if Isley can get back to form quickly, he could be a threat there at heavyweight as an unseeded wrestler. Someone you probably don't want to draw because he's placed high in the Big 12 last year, I believe, and so I mean he's capable of it. You talked about 97 being tough, and did you mention Sloan?
I did not mention Sloan.
So he's the number 2 seed there, and so anyway. So if with Bastida being number 4 and that puts Rocky Elam at number 5, what a tough quarter round match, quarterfinal match that'll be. Geez, so that's a deep weight for sure. One other one that was an Iowa connection, Cade DeVos at 74 is ranked 2nd there for South Dakota State, and it made me wonder, were Runyon and DeVos teammates at Southeast Polk?
They might have been.
I don't know if because Runyon transferred in from Indianola, so I don't know. They may have been. So they're at the same weight there. How about that?
Yeah, interesting connection there. not seeded at all, but should mention former Don Bosco wrestler Daniel Kimball will be wrestling 149 for South Dakota State as well. Just kind of looking through it, some of the individuals
And
that are also listed.
right, and based on the pre-seeds, I have, Iowa State makes the cut at 9 weights. The only one they're out on is 165, and Judge is 7th seed there, and they only take 4 at 165. And then UNI has 6 qualifying, and they are out at 149, just barely there though. Real Budos is seeded 5th, and they take 4. And then 57, same situation at 57, just out by 1. And then 197 and 285 since they're not seeded. So 9 and 6, that'd be a nice day.
Yeah, for sure. It should note that similar to heavyweight, UNI has kind of an either or at 197 with the possibility of Noah Glazier going instead of John Gunderson, but we'll see there. I'll just run down the other top seeds. I mentioned Dayton Fix at 133, but you've got Killian Cardinal of West Virginia, number 1 at 125. Excuse me. At 141, we mentioned Ian Parker. At 149, it's Caden Gefeller of Oklahoma State. 57, Carr, of course. At 165, Keegan O'Toole, who's ranked 2nd. He's the number 1 seed there. At 174, it's Dustin Plott of Oklahoma State. 84, we mentioned Keckeisen. Stephen Buchanan of Wyoming, who's ranked 3rd nationally. He's the number 1 seed. And then Wyatt Hendrickson of Air Force, who's the number 1 seed at heavyweight there. Yeah, we talked about the depth of a couple weights in the Big Ten, but 197, where you've got Buchanan, you've got Sloan, Jake Woodley of Oklahoma is the 3 seed, younger Bastida, who's wrestled lights out at times this year. And then you've got Rocky Elam, who's ranked 6th nationally, but just the 5th seed when it comes to the Big 12. So that top 5, when you've got a Bastida Elam quarterfinal, remember what their match was like in the duel here just at the end of the regular season. That's pretty impressive.
Right. And I think the Big 12 is up just slightly. I didn't compare, but are they just up slightly in their automatic allotments?
I believe so.
Yep. So, I mean, they've got at 25, you've got 6 that qualify as, same at 33, and then 7 at 41. 49 only has 4. 57 has 6. 65 has 4. 174 has 8. That's the most of any weight in the Big 12. And then 84 is 4. 97 is 7, and heavyweight is 6. So,
and it's easy to kind of overlook 174, but if you go through the RPI rankings, they've got 7 in the top, or actually 8 in the top 18 of the RPI rankings. You kind of take those with a grain of salt or whatever, but you also have 9 guys that are ranked in the top 31. So that's kind of a sneaky good competitive weight where you've got, we mentioned Plott and Cade DeVos of South Dakota State, Mantadona of Oklahoma, Runyon right in the middle of there, Peyton Mako of Missouri, Hayden Hastings of Wyoming. That could be pretty fun and might be one of those weight classes that the order of finish might be different depending on the week that you wrestle
it. Yeah, for sure. And I didn't realize they had that many that high in the RPI. So interesting.
So you know, we'll do the same thing that we did with Iowa. Let's pick somebody to kind of finish above their pre-seed, and instead of doing the field and one of the teams, let's just do one Cyclone and one Panther to finish above their seed, or that we think is most likely to finish above their seed.
I'm going to go with for you and I guess, at 157, Holschlag. I think I'd like to see him wrestle at least one above, then he's an automatic qualifier. So I'll go there. For Iowa State, I think Terrakina can be, I think he can wrestle above a 6 seed. So we'll see there.
I have to concur on Terrakina. You know, especially, you know, you've got Noah Certain, Trevor Mestro Giovanni. You know, I think he certainly could move up into the top 4. Did he knock off Cardinal, or was that Teskey? I thought one of those two knocked off Cardinal, but
I've been Teskey. I don't remember.
yeah, so I have to go back, but I definitely think Terrakina is one that could finish above that. Just because I'm not sure how strong 133 is after you get past Fix and Biscaglia. But you know, Ramazan I think is right there with you know, 3-4. So he's somebody that could slide up a couple spots too for the Cyclones. One of the ones I think I'll go with for you and I. I'll say Cale Happel. You know, he's somebody that could score a lot of points, and he's got a high motor, and that's something that will serve him well in a competition like this. And you know, if you get on the backside, you know, there are going to be some people that just aren't there mentally after suffering a loss, and if you've got that motor and the right attitude, you can knock off a couple people on that backside. So I'm going to go with Cale Happel to finish 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there this weekend.
I think you're right on all points there with Apple, and he's having that motor, and he's also a freshman that's hungry for, you know, to show and improve, and he has been improving in this, I think, this entire season, but particularly as of late, just he's really got it going. So I think that's a great pick.
So we kind of mentioned Iowa getting all 10. Do you think 6 and 9? Do you think that's what these two teams are capable with UNI and Iowa State as far as automatic qualifiers go?
I think very much so, yeah. And I think UNI with the two of them just sitting right below the cut line has an opportunity for more even. So Iowa State, you know, they're one that's out. There's just so few at that weight that are automatic qualifiers, and it's a 7 seed trying to climb up to 4. That's a little bit tougher climb. So I don't see them getting 10. At least the automatic qualifiers, but I think UNI can improve that even.
All right. D2 and D3 had their national qualifiers this last weekend. Just want to hit on D2 really quick. Not a lot of local representation heading to the national tournament. But just want to mention Upper Iowa did have one qualifier this year, Tate Murdy at 141. He ended up finishing third at their regional, and he did it the hard way. Lost his quarterfinal match, then won 4 straight Consi matches. did it quite impressively with, I think, a tech fall pin and major, and then was just 1 point short of a major in the third place match to earn that berth. He improved to 13-2 overall this season. His last match to qualify for the Nationals, he had 4 takedowns and had a point of riding time to beat Northern States Colton Roth 9-2. So he'll move on for the Peacocks. Kind of a tough year for them. Caden Anderlich, former Decorah wrestler, I believe. He ended up finishing 4th. Maybe he was from Crestwood, but I know one of those Northeast Iowa schools. But he was 4th and just missed out on a berth. So Upper Iowa will send 1 to St. Louis the following week. 2 other qualifiers of note, both from Nebraska Kearney with Iowa ties. Josh Portillo of 125, Matt Malcolm of at 165. Portillo from Clarion Goldfield Dows, Matt Malcolm of Glenwood. Both of them. Portillo transferred from South Dakota State. Malcolm was at Iowa for a redshirt season and then went to UNK. Both of them 3-time All-Americans. And Malcolm was a national champ a couple years ago. So those guys will be back looking to finish their careers off on a good note.
And just one note on Murdy's third place match, he had to do it over the number 2 seed. So I mean, besides coming back the hard way, he was the 3rd seed or 3rd or 4th seed, but so he had to beat a kid seated higher than him. So and did it handily. So congratulations to him.
Yeah. So we'll see how those guys goes. And outside of Portillo and Malcolm, I didn't notice anybody else with Iowa ties. Of course, somebody can let me know if I missed somebody or want to point somebody out there at the D2 level. And of course, the Division III Lower Midwest Regional was held at Dubuque last Friday and Saturday at the Five Flags Center. We've talked about just how much of a meat grinder and stacked qualifier that is, and that proved to be the case again this year, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got 18 teams there and 8 of them qualified, at least one wrestler. So, locally, teams did very well. Wartburg walked away with 7 qualifiers. Co did a real nice job and qualified 6, which was above their seed. I think what I said last week that they're expected to, based on their pre-seeds, to qualify 5. So they did a nice job there. Had a champ and 5 kids win their match, their qualifying match in that 3rd place match. So I did a good job there. Loris had 4, 2 champs and 2 runners up. And then Central had 3 and UD had 1 and Luther had 1. So
just kind of looking over some of the results. I know there's always some weight classes where guys aren't going to get through, especially at this regional. Seems to be the case. Anything like that really kind of stand out to you as far as guys that didn't get through? I know
start at 125. You got your NWCA champion last year, didn't qualify this year.
Alex Friddle got 5th for Co. And yeah, I suppose if you would have mentioned 6 Cohawks getting through, you'd expect him to be one of them.
Yeah, when it was 25 was loaded, and I believe 49 was 57. One of them was really stacked as well, and so yeah, I feel bad for football, but man, that was a tough weight class too.
Yeah, 141, Jalen Schropp, just on the outside looking in there, finishing fourth behind Brock Henderson of Co. Tirakina of Wartburg and Estrada of North Central, 1-2 there. Daniel Ruiz of Loris, 149. Riley Wright, finishing sixth. That same weight class for
that's the weight class I was speaking of, 49.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the performances that it shouldn't be a surprise given what he's done the last few years, but Braden Burt, he continues to be on a tear. He was that way at the end of last season as well. But he looked to be in fine form again, beating Gabe Pfizer by fall in the finals at 165. But what about Will Esmoil Cole finishing third?
Yeah, Will did a good job. I've enjoyed watching him wrestle this year. He's done a nice job on the mat. The national duels, taking the number one ranked 74 pounder. He's up a weight, right? And doing a good job there and almost beating him in overtime. And then he's a fun kid to watch. He's one of those guys that won't quit. And his grandparents were sitting behind me in the stands and were awful darn proud of him. They should be.
Just kind of looking through, Ryan shot at 184, also qualified for Co. And then Caleb Reeves with a title at heavyweight to improve to 27-0. And the reason why I'm really kind of point that out, the NCAA released its statistical leaders so far this season, and the most dominant wrestlers in D2 and D3. Interestingly, Matt Malcolm of Nebraska Kearney, we mentioned he was from Glenwood originally. He actually leads NCAA Division II. Qualifiers are 17 match minimum, and they've had to qualify for the NCAA tournament. But he averages 4.75 team points per outing. The tie-in is Caleb Reeves and Braden Burt are 2 and 3 in the Division III rankings behind RIT's Calden Winters. But Reeves averages 5.56 per outing. Braden Burt 5.51. Of course, Reeves, his big Greco background has led to a lot of pins, actually 20 pins in just 29 minutes and 12 seconds. Burt has 20 pins as well, just a little longer in 33 minutes and 56 seconds.
Yeah, and I'm guessing Burt has some technical falls in there too, because he's really tilder on top as well. But Reeves, he just kind of stormed through the field. If I recall, he won the Gregorian Award at the regional tournament. I believe it was 4 pins in 5 minutes, I think, was it? So 5 minutes even. So yeah. And then Burt, I believe, had 3 pins and a technical fall. So if I remember right. So they're very dominant.
Yep, and Joe Salerno of Washington and Lee, 65-pounder. He's got 21 pins in 40 minutes and 16 seconds to lead Division III. You mentioned Tech Falls. On the D2 side, Matt Malcolm is second with 12 behind his teammate Austin Eldridge of Nebraska Kearney, who has 16 technical falls. At the D3 level, Braden Burt, you mentioned at 165, he's got 10 technical falls in 38 minutes and 57 seconds. Brock Henderson, who actually, I think, set Co's career record for most technical falls. This season, he has 9 in 44:35, which just has him inside the top 10. on that national list. Michael Ross, I believe, who is connected to Wartburg, correct?
Yeah, it was Kyle's sweet mate up there. Yeah.
So Michael Ross actually leads all of Division III with 21 technical falls in 90 minutes and 6 seconds. So a little local tie in there, as well as Burt and Henderson and those. Just kind of going through any big surprises as far as matches go that really kind of stand out.
A couple of upsets here and there, but really, nothing that really stood out. That at least in my mind. So,
all right. D3 wrestling tournament, wrestling championships will be here in Cedar Rapids, March, I believe 11th and 12th at the Alliant Powerhouse. I think we saw something from our friend Dick Simmons. Are they still looking for volunteers?
right. And I can speak a little bit on that because I actually went to the website. It's what do they call that sign up? There's a site. It's really easy. You just click on it, opens up, and you can volunteer. And it's very short periods of time. Like there's one that's there for an hour, one for an hour and a half, like on Tuesday and Wednesday, kind of preparation, getting packets ready for coaches and that sort of thing. So it doesn't require a lot of your time. Plus you could, like I was considering signing up 3 different jobs. So I'm not just there an hour. I can be there for half a day or more to help.
Sure.
So there's definitely some opportunities out there if you want to jump on and do that, people.
And of course, that'll be next week, and we'll preview a lot more of that tournament here next week. Let's move on to the NAIA here. March 4th and 5th in Wichita, Kansas. Grandview looking to get back on top after Life snapped its string of championships a year ago. But Grandview, Life University, and Reinhardt, 3 programs that'll have 12 qualifiers. So fully loaded between them. Indiana Tech and Southeastern out of Florida will have 11, and then the Cumberlands, University of Cumberlands out of Kentucky will have 10. Those programs kind of lead the way. I mentioned qualifiers for Grandview. You got Esco Walker and Justin Portillo at 125. You've got Carson Taylor, the Fort Dodge prep, 133. Shea Ruffridge at 141. He was from Pocahontas area. Then you got Israel Caceres at 157. Marty Margolis at 165. Casey Randalls and Alex Reynolds at 174. Ben Lee at 184. Owen Brongart 197. And then at heavyweight, you've got Greg Hagan of West Des Moines Dowling. And Tommy Mummer at 125. And in heavyweight, you've got the number 1 and number 3 ranked guys, both from Grandview. Just mentioned that Ruffridge, Caceres, Margolis, Randalls, Bentley, and Brongart won Heart of America Conference titles. Interestingly, Walker, Portillo, Hagan, and Mommer were all finalists in the conference tournament, but there's no contest. They didn't have those guys wrestle each other to determine a true champion. So Grandview looks loaded and certainly in the running to get back on top.
Right, and it's a little different in NAIA. You can qualify 12. And it doesn't have to be at the 10 weights, as in Grandview's case, because they've got 3 weights where they have 2, and then at 149, they don't have anyone participating there. But they have 3 weights, they have 2. So it's a little bit different there. And I've never quite understood why it is, but it's just always been that way in my mind. So anyway,
Yeah.
of the 12 that Grandview has, that they're all 5th seed or better. And then 9 of them are 3rd seed or better. And then they have 3 number 1 seeds. So, and then I kind of compared Life, who beat them was last year? Yeah, 2 years ago, was it? Anyway, beat them and kind of surprised us anyway. And they Life, they have all 12 seated, but not anywhere close to what Grandview has. So it looks like it's Grandview's to lose again, I guess. Win again, however you want to say it.
You know what I like about NAIA more than anything? You look at some of the teams that are involved. Mentioned Life, Reinhardt, both of them are from Georgia. Um, Southeastern out of Florida, Cumberland's out of Kentucky. Those are teams with some of the most qualifiers, and they're in states that don't have Division I wrestling programs, especially Georgia and Florida. And I like to see, really like seeing those areas of the country being represented on the college level, regardless of what division or what it is, NCAA, NAIA, JUCO, whatever.
Right. And then NAIA has different rules. I'm not aware of what they are, but I know they're different in terms of eligibility, academic eligibility, and then also eligibility. Like in NCAA, you have 5 years to make 4. Once you matriculate, your clock starts, unless there's some exceptions, but certainly with COVID too. But anyway, and then NAIA, I think you just have 4, and you could do, as I understand it, you could do a year in 2020, a year in 2024, and just go on. So they have different rules, and that's good because you've got different situations in people's lives, and it gives them an opportunity to come back to it. So anyway, yep,
for sure. I'm going to run down some of the other qualifiers and area schools, and a couple or Iowa schools, and a couple others of note. Briarcliff, they have 2 qualifiers, and Ben Peters at 149, Kieran Watson at 125. Graceland's Joseph Lupton at 133, and Jackson Wenberg at 141 will move on and compete this weekend. Morningside has 6 qualifiers, and Caleb Connor at 157, Hunter DeYoung at 197, John Diener at 149, Evan Shell at 125, Noah Steischel at 141, and Taylor Vasquez at 133. Northwestern Iowa and Orange City, Jacob Frankston Small at 174 and Luke Jennis at 184 move on. Waldorf has 2 qualifiers, and Tyler Okada at 141 and 157 pounder Jalen Strong. William Penn has 2 as well. Cameron Hargrove at 149, Mikhail Stanley at 174. And I saved this just because it's their first season with a program, but St. Ambrose has 3 qualifiers for this weekend. Michael Shannon at 125, Matt Robertson of at 133, and of course he wrestled at Davenport Assumption, and then Jaden Taronas at 165 from Olean. But mentioned Robertson specifically. He was named the outstanding wrestler at the Heart of America Conference tournament, and actually was the conference wrestler of the year this year. So St. Ambrose's first season, some nice accomplishments in kind of some nice feats there for that program trying to build up. And another one that I really want to mention too, Jamestown in North Dakota had a qualifier. Theorius Robeson, he was a runner-up at the GPAC tournament at 141. The reason why I mentioned that is Jimmy Zaleski is the coach at Jamestown, and of course, they're the Jimmies, the Jamestown Jimmies, so it fits. But Jim Zaleski was named the head coach there in May. This is his first full season. Brought them back up to a 500 record in his first year, and they haven't had a lot of success. They've only had 4 qualifiers in the previous 4 years. They didn't have a single qualifier last year. So Zaleski has got a qualifier there. And of course, kind of a coincidence, their last All-American was in 2017. And that's when Dylan Kiefer was a runner-up at 141. And now you've got Theodorus Robeson at 141, who was a runner-up in their conference tournament, and he was an automatic qualifier and has a chance to become their first All-American in 5 years. So just wanted to mention that with the connection with Jim Zaleski.
That's pretty cool. Those 2 programs to be moving, that's something to build on and grow on, and for their school to be proud of. So kudos, man. That's awesome.
One other thing about NAIA I want to mention really quick here. Kind of turn back on my notes. Mention the Grandview women. They're ranked second in NAIA. They're getting ready for the national tournament, but it'll be the same weekend as the NCAA Division III and Division II tournaments. That'll be held in Jamestown, North Dakota, actually, on March 11th and 12th. They competed in the Heart of America Conference and won the team title. Emma Cochran, Ashley Tobe, Andrea Schleybaugh, Alexis Gomez, and Abby McIntyre all won championships. Cochran was named the Outstanding Wrestler of the Year at 101 pounds. McIntyre, who was a former Glenwood prep as well, she was named Freshman of the Year, and of course, Grandview coach Angelo Crinzy was named Conference Coach of the Year as well. So they're getting ready for their national tournament in a little over a week, but good showing at the conference tournament there and a lot of accolades.
As you're reading that, KJ, I couldn't help but think, well, we have to learn a whole new set of names now. I've got all the male names now. Now I have to learn all the female names now. And then, it made me think from refereeing standpoint, it's interesting because girls have a different sort of flexibility. So with guys, you're going, you're looking for a potentially dangerous right away. With girls, they're so much more flexible. Sometimes I've called that with the young kids, and they look up at me like, "What's going on? Why did you call?"
Yeah, everything is fine.
So they're so darn flexible.
Yep. There's also another a national championship this week. It's going to be held at the Mid-America Center in Council Bluffs. The National Junior College Athletic Association will hold their wrestling championships. And of course, there'll be a good contingent, good representation from Iowa there. You've got a handful of teams in the top 10, including Iowa Central, which has been a year in, year out power. You've got NAIA, which is coming off its first district title since they resurrected the program in 2008. And actually, it was the first, I think, might be the first postseason tournament title since 1972. Congratulations to NAIA for that. But Iowa Central, NAIA, and Indian Hills, which this is maybe their second full season at Indian Hills. So you've got 3 really good programs in the top 10 there. I believe Iowa Central has 10 qualifiers. Indian Hills has 10 qualifiers. Iowa Western has 10. NAIA has 9. Ellsworth with 7, and Iowa Lakes with 5. they're kind of leading the way. And interestingly, one of the names that really stands out for Iowa Central, Keaton Gertz, who I believe started at UNI, a former New Hampton wrestler. He was a national runner-up last year, district champion here recently, and he's kind of leading the way at 149. But that's certainly a name that we're familiar with.
Right. And you mentioned Iowa Central being strong. They sit with one number 1 seed and then 3 number 2 seeds. Keaton Gertz was number 2. Then Rodriguez at 74 is number 2. Miller Johnston is number 2 at 57. And then their number 1 seed is at a heavyweight prior there. So they're looking strong there to do well. And the NAIA has 2 number 1 seeds. So NAIA, who on that 72 team that you mentioned, I bet you I can tell you a person that was on it, a Cedar Rapids Washington wrestler. Can you come up with that one off the top of your head?
Um,
I'll give you a hint. He's a very big, strong guy.
Very big, strong. Chuck Smith.
No, Joe Hatchett. I bet he was on that. Joe Hatchett. I think he was a national runner-up that year. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, so NIAC has 2 number 1s. That'd be Valdez at 97, and then Christian Minto at 165. And then Indian Hills has a number 1 seed of their own, 184. Pulliam is the number 1 seed there. So got some representation.
Yeah, kind of interesting that Rodriguez of Iowa Central, defending national champ, is number 2 seed, got second actually at the district that they competed in Centerville. Prior, the number 1 seed for Iowa Central at heavyweight that you mentioned as well, a national finalist a year ago, along with Gertz. NIAC's Christian Minto, because of the COVID year and everything's kind of cattywampus as far as eligibility and all that. Minto, a rare 3-time district champion, and actually he's been the OW all 3 years. So something that you don't see at the JUCO level just because of the special situation that we're facing. But Minto definitely pretty cool accomplishment there. And then you mentioned Pulliam, him and Caleb Meekins, Indian Hills is 133 pounder. They both won district titles, and I think that was their second in a row for both of them. So this tournament, large field, very, very large field. It's going to be a tough one. You're definitely going to have to earn that getting through those big brackets. And this will be a Friday and Saturday again at Council Bluffs. So if you're in the area, you'll be able to check out some great wrestling, because at the JUCO level, especially in Iowa, I think it kind of gets overlooked just how talented the guys are wrestling for those programs.
Right. It looked like those brackets, you said large brackets, it looked to me like they're 64-man brackets and full. Like there's teams from all over that I couldn't recognize the names. There's some, I'm guessing some pretty darn good wrestlers coming in. So,
yeah. So, well, I think that kind of encompasses a lot of what's going on the college level here this week. And any final comments or words of wisdom?
Obviously, the competition going this week are the Big 10, Big 12, all the Division I qualifying tournaments, and then your NAIA tournament and JUCO. So a lot going on this weekend. Next weekend are Division 2 and 3, and then followed by Division 1. So it's coming to an end, but it's going to be fun the next 3 weekends.
I'll have some preview items for the Big Ten and Big 12 tournaments coming up. One of them, look for a feature on Kyle Biscaglia of UNI, a former Waukee prep. Interestingly, a triple major
Oh,
of biology, or biochemistry. So biology, biochemistry, and religion. And talking to him, his mother was a nurse practitioner. He's always wanted to be a doctor and a physician to help people. And he took on, because of the COVID year, where you get the extra year, he took on the third major in religion, because he wanted to be able to understand people's backgrounds and religious choices and how that plays into their well-being, so he could relate to patients, and be more understanding of how that plays a part. So, and of course, on top of that, or alongside of that, he's won 10 of his last 11 matches. His only loss during that stretch was a 5-1 decision to Dayton Fix of Oklahoma State. 13 of his 18 victories this year have been bonus point victories. So he's really, really come on this year. This will be his first opportunity to wrestle in the postseason. So he's looking forward to his first Big 12 tournament. So keep an eye on that on the Gazette.com. And then Alex Marinelli going for his 4th Big 10 title. He mentioned, that he understands that's kind of a big feat. And he had a really cool analogy about this time of year, you're fine tuning things like a car to make sure you're ready to run and get ready for the trip, and that everything's running fine. And asked him what kind of car he was, if he's going to make that analogy. And I think he hit it perfectly. He's an eco diesel. He said it's not like a Hemi where it just comes out right away, but it gradually grows, kind of gradually gets going, and then once it's going full bore, it's hard to stop. And I think that fits him perfectly. So keep an eye out for those two items at the Gazette.com. And of course, I'll be heading to Lincoln, Nebraska to cover the Big Ten tournament there this weekend. So watch for our updates there as well.
Well, all I have to say is I was lucky to get through with 1 major, let alone 3. Holy cow.
Yeah, I know. I told him I was a mass comm major, and that's why I do what I do. All those over my head. So
neat stories. I'm anxious to read them.
Yeah, and of course, not only is he doing it, but he's doing it at a high level, because he's been an academic all Big 12 performer the last 3 years, including this year. So kudos to him, and look forward to that, and look forward to you taking us out. And
all right, let's keep wrestling on the move.
thanks for watching, everybody.